A search for survivors. New tonight on Our News Live at 7. A plane crash in waters off East Exuma, now under active investigation. Plus, finance workers protest outside the office of the Prime Minister, demanding promotions. The State Public Service Minister responds. Also, remembering a legacy. Former DNA leader Chris Mortimer killed in what police are calling an accidental death. His family and former colleagues all in shock. And then at Our News Live at 7:30, the American Vice President's supportive LGBTQ message sparks religious backlash. We've got the story straight ahead. Our News Live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. Former DNA leader and businessman Chris Mortimer has died in what police are calling an accidental death. We've got more from the initial investigation and hear from some of his colleagues in just a bit, but we begin with a plane crash in waters east of Exuma, which authorities say happened shortly before noon today. The Aircraft Accident Investigation Authority telling Our News it received an alert that a U.S.-registered Piper PA-32 Cherokee aircraft that was expected in Stella Maris, Long Island, had not arrived. What we know so far is that the aircraft lost contact with air traffic control while en route. No word yet on how many people were on board the single-engine plane, but we understand a search and rescue effort is still underway by Bahamian authorities and the United States Coast Guard. This is a story that we are continuing to follow, and if you want the latest on this, be sure and stay tuned to Our News Bahamas on Facebook and ournews.bs. And we are also learning from police that they are looking for two suspects. They say held up two men outside a home on Pine Yard Road. The robbery happening around 1:30 on Wednesday afternoon. That's when the two suspects, dressed in dark clothing, approached the victims. One of the men pulled out a gun and the duo robbed the pair of their wallets before running from the scene. As police investigate, they are also asking anyone who may have any information on this to contact them at 919-911 or at 502-9991. And over in Bimini, police in Alistown seizing nearly $60,000 in U.S. and Bahamian currency from a home on Wednesday. Reports are that shortly before 4 a.m., officers acting on intelligence executed a search warrant on the home where police say the cash was found. A 52-year-old man was arrested. Authorities say they believe the cash is the proceeds of criminal activity. And now to finance and accounting officers convening outside the office of the Prime Minister today, seeking answers and a meeting with the nation's chief over outstanding promotions and compensation. The union saying that government has been silent on the matter for a year now. Berthany McDermott is following this.
We want our promotions and we want them now.
An audience with the Prime Minister. That's what Bahamas Public Services Union members are looking for amid what they say is a long-standing issue, promotions and compensation. Union President Kingsley Ferguson.
We are here to appeal this morning to the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, who is indeed the Minister of Finance, to hear our cry and attend to our call.
Yes.
And you know, it is disappointing when the chief of the nation, in his particular ministry, there are concerns, and those concerns are not being heard. They are falling on deaf ears. And so we're appealing to the Prime Minister again.
Ferguson says the finance and accounting officers were faced with this issue for 15 years. These officers say some of them juggle the finances of two government ministries and departments at a time. The union leader says they haven't heard from the Prime Minister or the Financial Secretary since last year. Finance Officer Gail Charlo says she's waiting on her promotion.
Well, I haven't been promoted for 11 years.
Wow.
I joined the service in 1988. And since then, there were persons who superseded me. I never received a supersession letter, which is the right way to go. And I am really discouraged.
We asked the union what's the next step in hopes of getting the attention of the Prime Minister.
After the day, I'm going to write again. I cannot say to you what can happen. You know, we got all kind of funny weather around here. People just get the flu real easy and thing. All kind of things could happen. But I'm saying to you, these people have a right. We're going to exhaust all those avenues, and after that I can't tell you what happened.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
We want it now.
Now, in response to the BPSU's actions this morning, State Public Service Minister Pia Grover-Roll saying that the ministry will be working overtime this weekend to provide the attention needed to carry out the promotional exercise for these officers. She says the public service has received batches of recommendations from the Ministry of Finance and has been working on this as a matter of priority. 42 recommendations came on June 5th, and an additional 8 are said to be processing. However, she says it's not an overnight process. She says the ministry remains committed to ensuring the backlog in public service matters is being readily addressed. All right, we've got much more to get to in a moment, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Kendino, and a happy Friday evening, everybody. A soggy day around most of the Bahamas with a lot of showers and thunderstorms across the central Bahamas. We did have some clouds build up early this afternoon across our area. Temperature right now outside our studios, 80 degrees. We have some showers and some thunderstorms in the vicinity. Winds out of the south-southwest at 12 miles per hour, so it's a little on the breezy side, and that's making it feel like 80 degrees. Temperatures around the islands right now, it's 82 in Freeport with some showers, 81 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, Alistown, Bimini, 82, 81 in Great Harbor Key, Governor's Harbor, 81, showers there as well. Nicholstown, Andros, 82, also some showers and some thunderstorms. Central Bahamas, 82 in Kemps Bay, Arthurstown, Cat Island, 80, Cobbatown, San Salvador, 80, Georgetown, you guys are 80 as well, Deadman's Key, 83, and in the Southeast Bahamas, 82s in Duncantown, Ragged Island, 84, a pair of them in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Acklands Island, Delectable Bay, Abrahams Bay, 87, 87 Providenciales, and Matthewtown, Inagua, where you round out our temperature profile at 86. Satellite radar composite, we have that plume of moisture still moving across our area, most of it in the central and southeast Bahamas, lots of shower activity down there. Also, we have some showers and some isolated thunderstorms across the northwest Bahamas, but we saw some peaks of sunshine earlier, but that moisture train will continue with us throughout tonight and into the weekend. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us to look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the shocking death of former DNA leader Chris Mortimer. His former colleagues remember his legacy. And over on Grand Bahama, officials eyeing a 2025 completion date for the international airport's development. And how traffic lights are getting smarter in tonight's Work in Progress segment when our news returns.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Last the 12th. Your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
A day after police reported the shocking death of former Democratic National Alliance leader Christopher Mortimer, his former party members are remembering the father and businessman. Jamila Mizik reports.
The Democratic National Alliance expressing condolences for the man who once led the party on its social media pages following the passing of well-known businessman Christopher Mortimer. The party says Mortimer was a fine leader that contributed tremendously to the DNA and was a fighter for change in our nation. Mortimer became the party's interim leader after the DNA's first leader, Branville McCartney, stepped down. It's a position he held from 2017 to 2019. Former DNA board member and candidate for Montague, Ben Albury, reflecting on Mortimer's life, especially his dynamic contributions to the political party.
Chris was an exceptional young man, very intelligent, very driven. He was somebody I think that had a good vision for the country and knew what he wanted to do to try to take it there.
He says learning about the death of the businessman and father of two came as a shock, and it is certainly a loss for the country.
Chris will be greatly missed, and like I said, I couldn't say enough good things about him.
Police initially classified Mortimer's death as suspicious, but today they reclassified it as accidental. The 53-year-old died shortly before 4 p.m. on Thursday on Lockhart Lane off Davis Street. Preliminary reports indicated that the driver was traveling west along Lockhart Lane when he reportedly exited a black Ford Escape vehicle. On arrival to the scene, officers discovered the vehicle in the reverse gear and the driver pinned against a chain-link fence. The driver received serious injuries and succumbed on scene. Mortimer, who was the president of Island Bloom and Pinnacle franchise brands, was also the former president of Galleria Cinemas and Outback Steakhouse. His recent business ventures included preparing to introduce the Red Lobster franchise to the Bahamas. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Missick.
All right, thanks a lot, Jamila. The redevelopment of Grand Bahama International Airport is slated for completion in 2025. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism and Aviation Chester Cooper giving the update during Bahamas Air's ticket office official reopening ceremony in Grand Bahama today.
I've seen the conceptual designs as many of our stakeholders have, and it certainly is taking shape. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to add to the grand nature of Grand Bahama. We're still on track for opening in 2025, first quarter, and we expect that you will see the action that we have seen behind the scenes. You're going to see it on the ground in short order.
Cooper says some new flight routes are anticipated for the island.
And we've received some recommendations. You've been accustomed to seeing many flights into Grand Bahama from Cincinnati and Cleveland, Ohio, and Nashville, Tennessee. And you're going to see some of those routes again.
All right, we'll have more from that opening ceremony coming up in Our News at 7:30. Well, the days of waiting forever at timed traffic lights being standard will soon be behind us, according to officials in the Ministry of Works. In tonight's Work in Progress segment, our Marlena Leonard sits down with the engineering lead who is leading the traffic management system into the future.
Traffic lights are getting smarter, according to a senior traffic and transportation engineer at the Ministry of Works and Utilities, Joy John. John is an integral part of the traffic management system, which will soon have its own center.
We are soon going to roll out a traffic management center whereby all our traffic signal within the new Providence are going to be monitored remotely from this building, from Ministry of Works. So our engineers and technicians and other technical staff, selected few, they will be able to monitor what is happening into all our traffic signals.
His team has been working tirelessly to bring our intersections into the future by replacing fixed-time traffic lights with ones that use sensors and artificial intelligence to detect when it's time to turn green. He says hopefully this can help quell some drivers' fears of stopping at red lights after dark in the capital.
It comes to night times. You see many people are afraid in the night time because when they stop at the intersection, they say, well, I can't wait for 30 seconds while there's no traffic on the other legs. Now this system, it allows for quick detection, just above ground detection with the artificial intelligence, and immediately if you are on waiting and there is no one on the other side, it immediately switch over and it gives you green. So the most that you can wait will be not more than 10 seconds.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted by a federal grand jury. This is CARICOM asks the United States to lift sanctions against Venezuela and praise for China's pursuit of ecotourism by a Bahamian ambassador. The details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted by a federal grand jury for retaining classified government documents and obstruction of justice. That's according to a source familiar with the matter. The charges against Donald Trump revealed nuclear secrets and classified documents were stored in a ballroom and that aides were ordered to hide files. The criminal cases brought by the U.S. Department of Justice amounts to another legal setback for Trump as he seeks to regain the U.S. presidency next year. He already faces a criminal case in New York that's due to go to trial in March.
We're a nation in decline, and yet they go after a popular president, a president that got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country, by far, and did much better the second time in the election than the first. And they go after him on a boxes hoax, just like the Russia hoax and all of the others. It's just been going on for 7 years. They can't stop because it's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden denies any interference in the Trump probes.
I have never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do, or else to bring a charge or not bring a charge. I'm honest.
Global firefighters are arriving in Quebec to help put out the more than 130 forest fires currently burning in that region of Canada. The wildfires that have blanketed a large area of eastern North America, with smoke seemingly spreading overnight in early June in the Canadian province, thanks to dry and hot weather and several strikes of lightning. The growing flames are said to have drained local firefighting resources. Wildfires began to spread quickly early this month, jumping from 36 to over 100 after a June 1st thunderstorm. Now to the region, as Caribbean community leaders have asked the United States to lift sanctions against Venezuela to allow regional countries to benefit from the Petro-Carib initiative. It is a regional oil procurement agreement between Venezuela and Caribbean countries that was founded in June 2005 during the presidency of late Hugo Chavez. In a statement issued late Thursday night following their discussions with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris here, regional leaders said there must be a balanced approach to develop the region's hydrocarbon resources and to maximize renewable energy potential. And finally, an 8-year-old boy was killed on Thursday in Suriname after being struck by lightning. Surinamese police said the boy, who has not been identified, was at a sports center during a thunderstorm when the freak accident occurred. Police say bystanders attempted to resuscitate the boy, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Investigations are said to be ongoing. Well, Bahamas ambassador to China, Paulette Bethel, hailing China's pursuit of ecotourism. Her praise came as she toured Gwizhou province with more than 20 ambassadors and diplomats from 19 other countries. Bethel pointing to the pivotal role tourism plays in the Bahamas economy, while also insisting there's always room to expand what's offered to visitors.
Tourism is the major industry in Bahamas. So from that perspective, we most certainly identify very much with Gwizhou, and tourism being a number one industry here as well. Ensuring the integrity of the ecosystem and the integrity of the environment. We cannot destroy them in pursuit of, tourism. I think they have to be married together in a pleasant way.
Gwizhou was once a province with rocky desertification land in China. It had suffered from ecological degradation and severe economic distress. After years of efforts to better restore and preserve the local ecosystem, Gwizhou has been designated as China's ecological civilization pilot zone. Bethel touting their success.
Gwizhou has done it very well. Clearly, it has been able to marry the ecotourism with this whole bridge building concept, which I think is, as I said, brilliant. The waterfalls today that we went to, people can have access to it and enjoy it and appreciate all that it is in its grandeur. And to me, that's a marriage of ecotourism, of the ecosystem rather, with the development of the tourist industry at the same time.
Over 20 graduates receiving their degrees last month from the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute, BAMSI, the institution offering training and teaching in agriculture and marine science. BAMSI's Manager of Academic Affairs, Surinder Raming, touting the fact that it provides the answer for some of the country's problems.
We are very proud that our graduates are being requested to, there are job offerings everywhere, and so we see that there's a need in the country and we are filling that need. And with the focus of our minister, with the focus of our executives and our staff members, it is all BAMSI Nation, Board Nation, 100%.
And she's encouraging young and the not so young to take BAMSI into consideration when thinking about tertiary level education.
We invite young persons to get involved in this industry, and it starts with being enrolled at the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute. There's a myriad and very diverse offerings in our programs, and so we say come on and be a part of BAMSI. We are accepting applications for the fall semester, and you're never too young and you're never too old to benefit from knowledge that will empower you and that will impact the nation in a positive way.
Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was June 9th, including the 2007 French Open Men's Doubles Championships win for one Bahamian. And then in our news at 7:30, an encouraging message to the LGBTQ community by the U.S. Vice President met with resistance. And divine melodies and heavenly harmonies take center stage at the Bahamas Gospel Music Awards when our news returns. Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was June 9th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1966, an act of parliament was passed incorporating the telecommunications department. It was named the Bahamas Telecommunications Corporation, BATELCO. The company would later become known as BTC. Then fast forward to 2007. At the French Open, Bahamian Mark Knowles and his partner Daniel Nestor of Canada won the men's doubles championship, defeating the Czech Republic 2-6, 6-3, 6-4. In 2016, following the overwhelming defeat of the gender equality referendum that year, a group of local pastors called it a victory against the relentless onslaught of an LGBT agenda forced on the Bahamas by the international community.
The Vote No pastors say this week they've won the battle, but they insist that the war against the global homosexual agenda continues. Pastor Mario Moxie of Bahamas Harvest Church says it's vital that they keep their guard up, especially considering what's currently happening in other countries, like the legalization of same-sex marriage in the United States.
The homosexual agenda, first of all, are relentless. And so part of their argument is if you give them an inch, they want to become a ruler. And it's important for us to make sure we define those boundaries on an ongoing basis.
And finally, in 2022, House Speaker Patricia DeVoe lashed out at NEMA Director Captain Stephen Russell over the response in the aftermath of tornadoes in the capital days prior.
What I did not see on the ground was NEMA. And I am saying this because I reached out to Commander Russell, and Commander Russell, I don't know if he was home busy watching the game because I heard he had a game last night, but I could say that he was not there. And that is who we have to reach out for emergency response. And I am terribly, terribly disturbed by that. And I say to him, I told him, I did not lie to him. I told him that I would speak to it from my chair. This is where I have my voice.
That's how House Speaker Patricia DeVoe described NEMA's response to the aftermath of a tornado that left damage in its wake on Wednesday. DeVoe hit out at NEMA and Captain Russell and what she is calling the agency's lack of response in the Bamboo Town constituency.
I had senior citizens at the age of 80 who had live wires, electrical wire hanging, and also no roof and no electricity last night.
Well, a popular Bahamian business known for its uniforms and its huge Christmas selection making a turnaround this year. Janae's Uniform Center introducing its Independence collection ahead of the Bahamas' 50th year of independence. Manager for the Uniform Center, Martha Wallace, says after nearly 3 decades in business, they're pleased to make this next step.
We've been in existence over 29 years. We started doing the embroidery with the Independence logos last year, but this year the staff said, Ms. Wallace, we have to do something, and in addition to that, we have some very good staff, and we don't pay the minimum wage. And so therefore we want to keep those staff, and the uniform business is seasonal, so we're trying to bring up the business in other areas when the months are slow. And so this Independence, it's off the rockets with persons coming in.
All right, and as the Independence holiday is quickly approaching, sales associate Whitney Brown says they're looking to expand their Independence paraphernalia to a wider selection real soon.
This is our first year starting off the Independence trend, and we're getting on board with it fast because we have customers coming in and out, and we almost sold out. We plan on getting more items in, like pins and flags and other stuff like fun socks and ribbons, a lot of decorative stuff because it's the 50th. So we wanted to say, let's do something because we've been here for a while.
All right, to see that story again and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. It's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Marlena Leonard in for Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Marlena, Janae's, I see they've got a 50th Independence selection coming out. Are you going to go and check it out?
Oh, for sure. The last time I was in there was for their big back-to-school sale, and I could tell that huge variety they had. So I'm very curious because I don't have enough flag colors.
When you go, then I'll go with you, since you already know.
We can be matching.
All right.
Well, we've got more on the U.S. Vice President's visit and the encouraging message she gave to a local activist, and the happy ending for the family of a missing man. Here are your latest headlines.
Tonight on Our News, LGBTQ controversy. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30, the encouraging message from the American Vice President to one local activist that's led to some religious backlash. And the happy ending for one family after an elderly man missing for 2 days has been found. Also, the latest on the proposed RCI project on Paradise Island as public consultation gets underway. And later, the best in Bahamian gospel music showcased this weekend at the BGM Awards. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Marlena Leonard. Topping news tonight, in a video floating around social media, Vice President Kamala Harris had a special message for one of the attendees that welcomed her and her team at the airport yesterday. Our Joshua Williams has the details.
Fighting for LGBT rights in the Bahamas.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
All right. We're here to support you. You know that, right?
All right,
nice to meet you. Thank you.
In a viral video, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris greeted scores of well-wishers at the Odyssey Airport. In the video, the U.S. VP allegedly says, "We're here to support you," directed at Alexis DeMarco, Executive Director for the Bahamas Organization of LGBTI Affairs. DeMarco says she was invited by the United States Embassy.
It's very important for us as a society, especially as a civil society organization, trying to be inclusive as it relates to marginalized communities, inclusive of LGBTI Bahamians. So that was some very powerful and strong words. Felt very appreciated to be able to have support in our community and the work that we do to include our vulnerable communities in the Bahamas.
DeMarco says while the interaction at the airport was brief, discussions with U.S. personnel will continue.
Their communication came from the special envoy. There's a special envoy who's attached to the LGBTI community from the United States of America, which is Ms. Jessica Stern, who we are in contact with, and who will be furthering our discussions and deliberations to the needs of our LGBTI community here in the Bahamas.
Earlier this month, the hoisting of the pride flag at the U.S. ambassador's residence and embassy sparked backlash and debate. As independence approaches, DeMarco says he will continue to fight for the rights of all who feel marginalized.
The Bahamas is in its 50th, headed to its 50th year, and the mission and the goal and the advocacy for the LGBTI community is their inclusivity to their access. So it's the access to education, the access to employment, the access to healthcare, and the access to justice. So what's available in country may not always be necessary or may not always be accessible to community members here in our country. So that's why we advocate and we agitate for their inclusion to be a part of our Bahamian Constitution, which they are.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
And Great Commission Ministries senior pastor Bishop Walter Hanschel reacting to that viral video. Hanschel believes the U.S. Vice President's comments were disrespectful.
America at this point is disrespecting our sovereignty, our culture, what we stand for as Christians. We have nothing against those in the LGBTQ community, nothing. Those are our family members, and we will not celebrate what they call gay pride.
Hanschel says he believes they have an agenda. Earlier this month, the United States Embassy hoisted the pride flag at its residence and embassy here, sparking fierce pushback from locals. Hanschel posed this question to the Vice President.
The Vice President said she's here to support that community. But my question to Vice President Harris is, what about us? What about the majority? Why don't you support us? What about our agenda? The family, protecting the children. We love America, but we will not be bullied by America or no other country.
Police arrested a 17-year-old juvenile after he was found in possession of 2 loaded, high-powered weapons and a stash of marijuana. Around 11 p.m. on Thursday, officers attached to the Southwestern Division were patrolling Montgomery Avenue in Millers Heights when they saw a group of men acting suspiciously. Once the group saw the officers, they fled the area. After a short chase, the juvenile was captured and the weapons were confiscated. Police are searching for the other suspects. And police are asking the public for assistance in locating a man responsible for an armed robbery on Thursday. Preliminary reports indicate that a man arrived at his home shortly before 7 a.m. on Cowpen Road, where he was approached and robbed of his 2013 white Nissan Note. Officers later found the vehicle in the Cowpen Road area. However, the suspect is still at large. Anyone with information is asked to contact the police or visit their nearest police station. And an elderly man who was reported missing earlier this week has been found. Police confirming today that 83-year-old Daniel Fenner, who was missing since Tuesday, has been located. They gave no other details on the matter. In recent weeks, there has been a concern over an uptick in missing person cases, particularly here in the capital. The majority of those residents were minors. Missing persons flyers have dominated social media pages, and nearly half a dozen Marco alerts have been issued in the last 2 weeks. Well, we've got a whole lot more to get to in a moment, but for now, a quick check on the forecast with meteorologist Greg Thompson, who is in the Weather Center. Greg?
Welcome everybody for our first look on the second half of our newscast. 80 degrees outside our studios with some thunderstorms and some showers nearby. Your winds out of the south-southwest at 12 miles per hour, a little on the breezy side out there, and that's making it feel like 83 degrees. Radar and satellite composite, we have that moisture plume continuing across the central and southeast Bahamas. Lots of showers and thunderstorms across that area, prompting some severe thunderstorm warnings earlier today. Isolated showers mainly across the northwest Bahamas, but that plume will continue to bring that moisture across us, and we will continue to see some showers and thunderstorms tonight through tomorrow. That's your quick check on conditions around the island. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
When our news comes back, we'll tell you more about last night's hour-and-a-half-long question and answer segment in RCI's public consultation meeting. Plus, the National Fly Carrier reopens its new ticket office on Grand Bahama. And later, get ready for a heavenly celebration this weekend as the Bahamas Gospel Music Awards showcases the finest local talents. That's coming up when our news returns.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off labs, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
Welcome back to Our News. The supplemental public consultation on the proposed Royal Caribbean International Paradise Island Beach Club was held last night. Now the public has 21 business days from last night, that is until July 7th, to submit their commentary and suggestions. The question and answer segment was extensive, lasting almost an hour and a half. Some crowd members came to the mic to voice support for the company and their proposed project.
Tonight it seems like a lot of people are critical about the project, but I see it as a positive step, not only for Bahamians, but for Atlantis as well, because Royal Caribbean is going to bring these people here, and they are going to want to visit Atlantis. They're going to want to go to the dolphin experience. They will move about Nassau, and they will need taxi cabs.
But environmental and socioeconomic questions persisted, wanting clarity on commitments and verification of the validity of projected employment opportunities for Bahamians.
I don't know if we have a scorecard system in the Bahamas as yet, so what type of information will be provided in that scorecard, and how will it be useful to DEP or to other environmental groups?
It's a yes or no. Do you bring foreign crew workers off of the ship to work on Coco Key?
Or Nassau and Freeport are listed as in the top 5 global destinations for wash waters from scrubbers. And what scrubbers do is obviously convert air pollution into water pollution. So we're concerned about water pollution in Nassau Harbor and the impacts on human health.
Now, all of the updated studies and complete environmental impact assessments are available on the website royalbeachclub@paradiseisland.com. Concerns must be submitted on or before Friday, July 7th, 2023. DEP inquiries can be submitted to cec@dep.gov.bs and questions for RCI to royalbeachclubpi@rccll.com. A big day for Bahamas Air and Grand Bahama as they officially reopened their local city ticket office in the Tropical Commercial Center on West Mall Drive. The former office that was located downtown was damaged by floodwaters during Hurricane Dorian. The office then moved to the Grand Bahama International Airport, but Bahamas Air officials say they noticed a decline in sales as customers say the office wasn't easily accessible. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister responsible for Tourism and Aviation, Chester Cooper, says the new office will be more convenient for customers.
And we are in a digital era where the preferred mode of making travel transactions is online. But today we're bucking that trend because we care about our customers and we wanted to send a signal that Freeport is back and Freeport is poised for a rebound, as are the fortunes of Bahamas Air.
Former Progressive Liberal Party Member of Parliament Leslie Miller says he suspects former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis will soon make a move to remove Michael Pintard as leader of the official opposition. This comes after months of speculation that there's a clear split within the party.
They're so divided right now between Dr. Minnis and Pintard. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. I expect at the end of the day, pretty soon Dr. Minnis will take his 4 fellas with him up to Government Hill on the throne Pintard.
This wouldn't be the first time this has happened. Back in 2016, former F&M MP Loretta Butler Turner and 6 others moved a vote of no confidence in Minnis and removed him as opposition leader. Dr. Minnis has gone on record saying the F&M is one family. But earlier this year, things reached a boiling point for the party when it was revealed that a communication was issued instructing constituency chairs to not allow Dr. Minnis to address constituency meetings. The notice was displeasing to some. Miller was asked if he feels Minnis would make a better leader.
If his ambition is still to be the leader of FNM, that's his ambition. Nothing I can do about that. I suppose he thinks he's a better man than Pintard as far as the leader. After all, he was the one who appointed Pintard, so, and we have a little fight between the king and one of his allies in the FNM, that is. So we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But I expect fairly soon he'll take some fellas to Government House and do what he got to do.
When Our News comes back from the break, we learn more about the science of measurement, as an org executive is saying the Bahamas could become the regional example for metrology.
The Bahamas All-Pro football camp is returning. Jonquel Jones and the New York Liberty take the hardwood tonight in Atlanta and find out who won the Grand Bahama Primary School Soccer Championships. Don't go anywhere. Our Sports is coming right up.
And get ready to be uplifted and inspired as the Bahamas Gospel Music Awards sets up the stage for a soul-stirring celebration this weekend. We have the details when Our News returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. The Bahamas has the potential to become a regional example for metrology, according to the executive director of the Organization for Responsible Governance, Matthew Aubrey. He says the presence of representatives from the European Union is a good sign. His comments came outside of the 2023 Bahamas National Quality Policy Re-Engagement Forum.
I think it's crucial that the Bahamas is being seen on a regional and international level as starting to move into this space. We have all the capacity to really stand up as a regional example, and so the EU is here putting their resources, their technical expertise to get us up to speed. Other regional models coming out of Cariform are looking at this effort and saying that this is something that we need to ensure that across the Caribbean we have a consistency, we have a similar approach. And what it ultimately means is that when we're doing and thinking about trading, when we're thinking about import-exports, we're thinking about the economic opportunities that stand forward, we're all going to be on the same levels.
Metrology is the science of measurement. It's what makes sure the gallon you pay for at the pump is truly a gallon. It also ensures the ingredients, their amounts, and nutritional value on your food labels are accurate.
At org, we always talk about accountability and transparency, and it really boils down to having some level of measure to understand how things are. Things become much more inclusive when we all have an understanding of this is how things should be. So when you go into the grocery store, or when you're receiving a service, or when you're purchasing something, understanding that it is at a level or standard of quality is absolutely crucial. It's crucial for the competitiveness of our private sector, but it's also crucial for the safety and the understanding and the empowerment of our citizens.
And in a little over a week, summer will officially begin. And with that in mind, Grand Bahamian tour guide and water expert Keith Cooper is cautioning beachgoers to always be aware while in the water.
Be mindful that the ocean environment belongs to the sharks and the fish that inhabit it, the sea turtles and the stingrays. So we just got to be mindful that they're more active during the summertime because they're out searching for food, which is what they were born to do. And sometimes humans will get too close, or a shark might be chasing after bait fish that are in the water, and all of a sudden a human might be subjected to a bite that was not on purpose.
In recent months, there have been several shark attacks in the northern Bahamas. Cooper is sharing what you should do if you encounter a shark.
One thing you should never do when you see a shark swimming by is to jump up and down, because that's going to either do one of two things. The shark is going to immediately evacuate from the scene, or two, it may seem that there's a food source nearby and could come closer to you. At that time, when you see a shark in the water, just watch its movement. The sharks normally are going to swim away from the humans. They are not going to come towards you for any reason other than the fact that there may be a food source near you if you happen to be standing in such an environment.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
NFL players are returning for the Bahamas All-Pro football camp, and Jonquel Jones returns to the court tonight. Here's Tage Adderley with a check on sports. Tage?
I'm Tage Adderley here to finish the weekend off strong with some sports. Last summer, NFL stars descended on the island for the first ever Bahamas All-Pro football camp. They make their return later this month. The Bahamas All-Pro football camp is going down the weekend of June 24th at the Thomas A. Robertson Stadium. The event, which is a collaboration with the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, will feature Bahamian NFL wide receiver Mike Strawn, along with NFL stars Keenan Allen, his teammate Mike Williams, Super Bowl champ Rashard Fenton, and a host of others, including 2 surprise players, teaching fundamentals and sharing valuable experiences with children ages 7 to 18. The event will run from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. This is a great chance to meet and learn from the best, so be sure to check that out. Moving on to some hoops. Jonquel Jones is returning to the floor tonight in Atlanta for the New York Liberty. Jonquel Jones and the New York Liberty are in the A to take on the Dream tonight. Jones is slowly working her way back from a foot injury, averaging 9 points and 4 rebounds per game. Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart are picking up the slack. They're going against a 2-3 Atlanta team led by Cheyenne Parker and Ryan Howard. Before we go, let's check on some primary school soccer in Grand Bahama. The Grand Bahama Primary School's Arthur Parrish Mary Nab League played their soccer championships recently. In the girls' division, Freeport Primary, coached by Ravano Ferguson, got the win over Bishop Michael Eldon 3-0, as Zara Ferguson was the MVP. Bishop Michael Eldon did win the boys' division, however, getting the win over Tabernacle 4-0. Stone Higgs was your boys' MVP. Congratulations to our young soccer champs up north. That was your look at sports. I'm Tage Adderley. Have a great weekend.
Still ahead on Our News Tonight, renowned artists and talented voices from across the islands come together to honor excellence in gospel music. And got outdoor plans this weekend? Greg is back with your weekend planner in the extended weather forecast when Our News returns. Welcome back to Our News. We've had some mixed weather conditions this week with heavy rainfall in the central Bahamas that's expected to continue into the weekend. Our meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with your weekend planner. Greg?
Welcome back, everybody, for our final look at weather. Taking a look at our water vapor, big upper level trough or dip in the jet stream into the Gulf of Mexico, pumping a lot of moisture across our area. Lots of showers and thunderstorms associated with this plume. Most of the activity in the central and southeast Bahamas. We've been seeing some flooding over the last couple of days, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rainfall expected, with isolated amounts up to 8 to 10 inches. So more flooding will continue across the central and southeast Bahamas. We're asking residents to remain vigilant and to protect your property. Across the northwest Bahamas, slightly dry air, but we still have some showers and some thunderstorms in the forecast. Satellite view showing most of the activity, as I mentioned, across the central and southeast Bahamas. Isolated showers across the northwest Bahamas, but that dip in the jet stream will be slow to move towards the east, and that will continue to keep this moisture plume in place. Future forecast showing things rather nicely. Friday, we have that moisture really across the central Bahamas. A lot of the activity moving into the Atlantic, but through tomorrow, more showers in the forecast as that plume remains in place, and then by Sunday, we expect a plume to lift back towards the north, but showers will remain in the forecast through that time frame. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas. We have a caution flag for you guys out there. The winds are at 15 to 20 knots tonight, but they will fall off a little bit. Southwest to west at 15 knots tomorrow. Seas running 3 to 5 feet, but they will be locally higher. Low tide is at 7:14 for the southeast Bahamas. Southeast to southerly flow 10 to 15 knots. We will keep the caution flag because we have some lingering swells out there. Seas 2 to 4 feet near shore, but up to 5 feet offshore. In the extended forecast, that moisture will continue through the weekend, so we'll see some off and on showers, and then early next week, those showers expected to taper off. By the end of the week, we expect a couple isolated showers in the forecast. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Well, the Bahamas Gospel Music Awards is back, and this year, CEO and executive producer Travis Edgecombe says this year will outdo the last. This year's theme is One God, One Bahamas, and commemorates the country's 50th independence.
Well, last year's theme was Legends, and we paid homage to those who paved the way in gospel music. But this year, we're trying to bring those hits that we loved over the years back to the BGMAs, and those artists are appearing and they're coming to perform those in the form of mashups. So we have a special treat for everyone that attends, and then also we will be giving the Pioneer Award to Mark Cartwright, who is the CEO and founder of FarmFest, and then also the Lifetime Achievement Award is going to Edison Sumner, Voices of Praise.
Edgecombe says last year's award show exceeded their expectations. The event is a formal one, and this year attendees are asked to come dressed in their Bahamian colors. The show is expected to feature the best in Bahamian gospel music.
So we have live performances by Cara T. Newton, Colin Christopher, Davian Chase, Glory Seekers. We have a throwback performances with Kenyatta Taylor, Tamika Taylor, Bishop Lawrence Roll, Pastor Simeon Alden, Nehemiah Heel, and much more. The event is going to be Sunday, June 11th at BFM, also known as the Miles Monroe Diplomat Center. Tickets are $25. You could pay at the door.
Thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. And remember, for all of today's top stories and breaking news and alerts, visit Our News Bahamas on Facebook. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Marlena Leonard. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.